This is Gaming and BS, episode 174, coming to you Wednesday, January 17th, 2018. Welcome to Gaming and BS, Tabletop RPG Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, folks. Glad to have you all on board. Sean, how the hell are you, man?
Smashing, buddy. Smashing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So here in Wisconsin, we have had, that fall for snow. It's been like crap. Sean and I both remember days of snow up to your ass, cars stranded, buses sliding off the road. We've had nothing but like a slight dusting in this part of the state. And now we look at the recording and we're saying, hey, it's kind of snowing. How much we're going to get? And we get anywhere from, we have seen 0 to 0.9 inches, and I have also seen 3 to 6. So with the usual accuracy of Brett reading a rules book, we have a weather prediction. This is awesome. That always kills me. You could get anywhere from 6 inches to a foot, or 3 to 6. There's a big goddamn difference in that. Anyway, that's my latest gripe.
Yeah, it's snow.
It is.
It's winter. It's Wisconsin. We were just at 50 degrees 4 days ago.
Yeah, I had to put the winter coat down for a minute, get a spring jacket because it was too freaking warm.
And for our Canadian folks out there, and even Buffalo, because Buffalo is no freaking joke either.
Oh, hell no.
Or Maine.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah.
Or Alaska, or the Arctic Circle.
Yes.
Or the Antarctic Circle if you're down there.
That'd be cool. If we actually had a listener in Antarctica. That'd be crazy. Anyway.
I heard they have slow internet.
Probably do have slow internet. They're
Right.
still downloading episode 1, or they just finished listening to it, and they're like, the hell did I waste my time for that for?
So for those of you that are hearing us banter about the weather, there's something you should know about Wisconsin people, is that you can't start or have any type of small talk or conversation without mentioning the weather.
Has to happen. Yeah.
It's just standard data. Like awkward silences, the weather.
Yeah, well, see, that stops us from, bitching about things like, say, whichever your favorite sports team is, or politics, or religion, or family issues, whatever it is. It's just you go right for the weather, because everybody hates it. It's either awesome, or you remember when it was better, or worse, or, oh, we're all going to die now, or whatever the case is. So usually it's a good middle ground. Icebreaker type of thing.
Right. And Brett's still coughing.
I am. It sucks.
What the hell, man? You might as well take up smoking.
I was thinking of it. I told my wife I gave up motorcycle riding. I should take up another dangerous habit. I think I'll start smoking heavy again.
Yeah, man. Get some Lucky Strike unfiltered, man.
Yeah.
Just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
No dicking around.
Yeah, just I'll start, deeply inhaling the pipe smoke when I smoke my pipe periodically. That'll blacken me right the hell up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well,
All
we
right.
should get on to things.
Yes, let's do it. Announcements. Gary Con, just a heads up for folks. Sean and I are definitely planning to go. I've got a room I'm crashing with the Wynn brothers, so that'll be cool.
I need a room.
You need a room?
I need a room. So
We might have room in our room, but you're going to cramp our style, man. I don't know if I can.
I
don't
will
know.
spoon with Brothers Win.
Oh.
Because that's winning.
Oh, there you go.
Huh?
And now I just got kicked out of my room. That's great, Sean. Thanks, man.
And that is winning.
Nice. So I don't think we can actually buy badges yet.
Seriously?
I don't think so. I don't know. I saw something online like somebody was trying to buy a badge and wasn't able to do it or something. So anyway, I got to go out there and get my goddamn badge. So got to get that done.
Apparently I do too.
But other than that, let's see. Oh, I've got a couple of games going to run off book there. Dave Beatty missed GameholeCon, and he wants to play Wraith, so I'm going to drag that with me. And I'll probably have some kind of an Avalon one-shot. I was talking to Chris Steele over text earlier, yesterday and a little bit today, and I may try to drag him into a D&D game too.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I've got a couple that I might want to sign up depending on if they're submitted. So if Forrest Gary runs Call of Cthulhu, I want in on that. Maybe if something the Hubster because I haven't played in a game with Jason Hobbs of Hobbs and Friends of the OSR.
I had him in a game of mine, but that was fun.
Oh, he was in a game. He was in one that Nick had play tested online, Abruzio. So,
got it. Okay.
but I have not seen him in action. Jason Hobbs of Hobbs and Friends of the OSR. Do I have him down yet?
You're getting there. You're getting there.
I got to tweak that a little bit.
Well, Sean, you've been talking about doing this for a while, this idea of gathering information about gamers doing some good shit. So what,
Yes.
what you did something, what happened? What'd you do?
So, what is coming right now, I don't have an introduction yet. I don't have an introduction to the segment. So Paladin Hood is our new segment of the show. It's gamers doing good, some type of cause, charity, education method, something, using RPG or tabletop games. I mean, if somebody's using board games, great. And they've got a board game club, and they're helping students, maybe underrepresented students, whatever that is.
Yeah.
We want to feature that in our segment called Paladin Hood. So we have our first segment of Paladin Hood. That is with James Walls and Lawful Good Gaming. So let's take it to James. All right, I am here with James Walls. James, thanks for joining us for Paladin Hood, our first guest for Paladin Hood.
I'm the first. I'm excited to be the first.
Yes. So, James, you are here representing what cause?
So I am here representing an organization called Lawful Good Gaming.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's the exact opposite of Chaotic Evil Gaming. So I don't know what group that is, but if they're out there and they're hearing this, we're coming for you, okay? So what we are at Lawful Good Gaming is and right now we're mostly on Facebook. We're close to 400 members right now, and quite a few of them are active. We had some game companies help us out, but we coordinate and run role-playing game events to help generate money for targeted organizations and charities. And our goal is to enact positive social change through the joy and love of gaming. And we do have a bit of I'm trying to say this as careful as possible. Some of the orgs we support, it's groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Government Accountability Project. We've done some stuff for environmental charities. If you look at our resume, if you will, of where we've supported in the past, we definitely have a little bit of a progressive leaning to our organization. And we were starting season 3. We actually started it this month, which is a push for organizations that promote equality and advocacy for the LGBTQ plus community, with support for the Trevor Project, the Human Rights Campaign, SAGE, and we have the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is like an anti-hate organization, as like our evergreen. Like every season we will always be supporting them.
So you mentioned for different charities and organizations that you target. How do you choose which ones you target?
Well, fortunately, it's not just me choosing. So we have, for being a relatively new and small organization, we have a really robust leadership committee. So I'm going to toss my shout out now to Christy, Rohit, Keith, Shannon, Ray, Alex, Jen, Will, and Ethan. Because I have to do that like I'm getting the Oscar for something. It's like, I don't want to get played off the stage here without mentioning them, You
want to give credit where credit's due.
I do, because they do all the work and I just get to be on, well, usually Rohit and I get to be on podcasts and talk about it. But anyway, so what we usually do is when we're deciding what causes to look at, we start looking for organizations that support those causes and those targeted causes, and then we go to Charity Navigator. We'll research them in the media. We will go through and see what their mission is, what their message is. Like for this season, it was some of them were really easy. Like Trevor Project, really great organization, really vocal, really out there. Same with Human Rights Campaign. SAGE, which was an organization my wife was kind of pushing for, is more there to help protect and give advocacy for elder LGBTQ. So it's not just, it's the other spectrum from the youth to those that are getting older. So we take them, we run them through our gamut of looking at them in different charity ranking systems, if you will. I mean, some of these sites are great because it kind of tells you what their giving is like and how their money is spent. You get to really research them. And we do try to keep things kind of broad so we can get national and sometimes international support. So we don't do really anything at the local level.
So how does gaming tie into your cause and efforts?
Sort of indirectly. So this kind of all kicked off about a year ago, and I was at my TV watching the fallout of the travel ban that went into place, and I saw all these great people volunteering time to lend a hand, specifically attorneys that were lending their time like pro bono, and I'm like, I want to help, but I don't have anything to pro bono. I don't have anything that I can say I can give this. I couldn't be there at an airport, running role-playing games for people that are, stranded. And I'm like, well, where can I? And so I put this call out on Facebook and about just what can we do as gamers to indirectly support, maybe generate money or advocacy or just focus on these kinds of things. And my friend of mine, Rich Howard, took my post, shared it. And since Rich knows 30,000 people, it got shared and shared and shared. And by the end of that evening, it was 30 people talking about how we can, use games to do this. And what we essentially do, our model is really kind of simple. First off, we're not a nonprofit ourselves. We actually take in no money. What we do is we have kind of a collection of game masters, and we invite more to run games. And then proof of admission for those game masters is, admission is proof of donation for those game masters. So if you're going to run a game, you have 5 players. We usually say no minimum donations. You just ask those 5 players send you proof of donation that they've donated to the targeted organization. So that way it's the money's going right to the people that need it, and we don't have to worry about any kind of legal technicalities on our side. All we're doing is running games. And that's how we've sort of become an indirect model. And so far we've had 40 events in 2017, and we brought in for those organizations about just over $7,000 in generated donations.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good for you.
It's been a fun year. I will say the political spin gets us trolled a bit. I actually haven't seen this level of it since I was talking about 3D6 in Order and 4th edition D&D. It was the closest I ever came to that, But being a 4th edition fan, I was prepared for the worst political trolls out there. Can't attack my love of 4E. So I'm strong.
So when you have these individuals, they sign up for a game with the understanding that they're going to donate directly to a cause.
Correct.
That you guys have stipulated. Is there a minimum that you ask for, or is there pretty little bit of latitude with that?
So not really. We say there is no minimum, but we offer the GMs themselves if they want to set a minimum that they can. So we've had a few folks who've GM'd who have been, pretty great, well-known GMs. Darcy Ross with Monty Cook Games, she ran several events for us, and I don't know if I don't think she had to have a minimum. People were clamoring to get in her games. But we've had folks that have run, they've generated $30, $40, $50 through their adventure that they've run. And really, our idea and concept is every little piece helps. I'm a big fan of kind of that coin pusher concept, the arcade game where you put a coin in and it pushes all the coins a little bit. And you put another coin in, and it pushes all the coins a little bit, and eventually some coins spill over. That's sort of how I see, positive change in general as being every little coin you toss in. Our average event yields somewhere in $160 in donations. Just recently, Brendan LaSalle and Tim DeShane ran a live event, a live DCC event, Dungeon Crawl Classics event up in Rhode Island, and they were I think $550 or something like that. They were our largest, generating event we've had last year, which is awesome. That was for the United for Puerto Rico.
How often do you run these games?
There are events every month, some in person and some online. So all you really have to do is find us. The easiest way is on social media right now. We're working on the website. We're not up and running with that yet because in general, social media has all of the the scheduling, the event scheduling stuff is there. It's just kind of easy to leverage that. So on Facebook, you can find us just looking at it's facebook.com/groups/lawfulgoodgaming, and on Twitter we're at lawfulgg. Just seek us out and say you want to run an event, and we'll send you event guidelines of, here's how our suggestions how to do it. You can create the event in Facebook or G Plus directly in our group, and then we just broadcast the hell out of it and try to bring players in. We'll I'll spam everybody. I'll hit the game companies and say, hey, someone's going to run and I'll tag Goodman Games DCC event, blah 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 blah, and kind of hope for a retweet or a reshare. And oftentimes we'll get something like that, and they'll toss some support in, or they'll share our tweet, and you just keep hunting. Sometimes it's a bit tough depending on when the GM wants to run the game. So we've had a few events that have had only 3 or 4 players. We've had a lot of them max out though. We've had some with wait lists that happen. I myself run one event a month. My next one I'm running will be local in Pittsburgh on the 25th of this month of January. I'm running a event at our local library in support of the Trevor Project with about 4 other GMs that'll be there running games, and folks can come, give us their proof of donation, or we'll set up a donation thing there, and yeah, we'll have a good time.
So any specific games that you guys tend to focus in on or desire, or is it pretty open?
It's pretty open. I will say that I think last year, I think that 1 in every 3 games was a Cypher System game. We have a lot of Cypher System fans in our group. A lot of Cypher System fans. We've had a lot of Dungeon Crawl Classics and Mutant Crawl Classics. Quite a bit of 13th Age. Interestingly enough, we have not had a 5th edition D&D GM yet. Or Dungeon Master yet. I should say Dungeon Master. I'll get in trouble if I don't. We've not yet had a D&D game. So we're open if someone wants to be our first. That'd be awesome. But
and that's up to the game master who wants to run.
Up to the game master. Yeah, is correct.
And now these are all local, online, both?
It's a collection of both. I would say that 80% of our events are online. So just basically through, Roll20 or G Plus Hangouts is how most of our events occur. And we've had, about 4, 5, or 6 that have been in person in different parts of the country.
Excellent. Great causes, great movement, worthy of paladinhood, James. How do people get involved? Where do they go? I know you touched on it a little bit, but if somebody were to say, well, I want a game, I want to give at the same time, or I want to run an event for you guys, how do they get in touch with you? How do they make that happen?
So like I said, you can find us on Facebook or G Plus just by looking up Lawful Good Gaming, and that will get you there. The link is just Facebook.com groups Lawful Good Gaming. On Twitter, it's at LawfulGG. You can find me on Twitter at ILive4crits, the number 4, and I will point you in the right direction. And if you don't want to run a game and you just want to help share the group, that is so helpful. We also occasionally have things in participation for folks who don't run games. For instance, in one of the DCC things I ran recently, I had a generation of Who Wants to Match Me, $2 per 0 level character I kill. And it made me very bloodthirsty for that game, because every character I killed was $10 more for charity. So I murdered that party hard. So there's other ways to participate if you don't have the time to GM or to play. So just if you look at your time schedule and say, I can't really be a part of this, dude, just show up and share our events, and you'd be a huge help.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us for Paladin. Thanks for doing good in the gaming industry. We appreciate it, James.
No problem, Sean. Thank you so much for having us on.
That was pretty cool, though, I gotta say.
Yeah, so what'd you think?
I like it. I like the format, so I like that. You got good data there. You call out all the right stuff. So apart from that type of critique, I think what James is doing is really freaking cool. And I think there is a lot of really interesting and fun, creative things that gamers are doing to try to help raise awareness, raise money, and do lots of different things. We've heard about the Extra Life stuff. We've heard about some of our listeners that have talked about things they're doing. And it's really cool to take a moment to just kind of call that stuff out. And then if you have it and you're like, hey, this one speaks to me, maybe I'd like to help them out. Hey, James, I'd like to give you a hand, brother. Or you might hear one say, I'm not interested in supporting that one. Totally fine. No one's going to care, right? But if you hear something and you think it's really cool and you want to help, or if it inspires you to do something equally cool on your own, hey, this is all good, man.
So one of the things that we did mention when I spoke to James was that Brett and I and listeners of the show and some other podcasts had helped out with Houston back in September. And when they had the hurricane hit and the flooding, we donated some money. We are not set up really well to do charity and giving, and that was like kind of off the cuff. I came up with how it was going to be done. But I mentioned to James where you get these folks, like his movement is where he needs game masters, dungeon masters, needs players, and to be on kind of board with what charity he and his group are raising funds for. And they do that as part of Lawful Good Gaming. So if you don't feel as though maybe you want to do something good, but you're not wanting to set up a website, get the rules down, understand like donations, how you want to donate, how you're going to receive money, how you're going to transfer money, you can actually just volunteer for some of the folks that we feature in Paladinhood and just maybe provide your own time. It may not even be finance. And then you could do that. That just helps out. Then you know what? You're doing a good cause. Heck, I'm sure you can plug your own kind of venture, like, hey, you're on a podcast or you do maps or whatever it is that you may want to get a little recognition for, and at the same time helping out a good cause. So we appreciate James coming on the show. We look forward to speaking to other folks that are in the industry, gaming hobby, doing good things for gamers. He also mentioned, I think, Brett, like how sometimes the cause may be political.
Yeah.
Right? But if it's not for you, that's okay. You just don't have to give to the cause. Don't get irate or bent out of shape about it. If you don't believe in the ACLU, that's fine. Then you just kind of fast forward it. That's the benefit of our show. We put in chapters.
Yep.
Just listen to the first few sentences of Paladinhood. Oh, that's not for me. Click, move it forward. But we think that if you're, doing something beneficial to other groups, it may not be your group. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. So, again, we want to thank James Walls. If you know of somebody that is doing something, charity, again, cause, whatever that is, we're doing it for about a 5 to 10 minute segment. It costs them absolutely nothing. We just think that when I was talking to James, I said there's just so much kind of crap out there sometimes, negative shit that some of us read about. Sometimes it's controversial. Sometimes it's, just social media trolls. And we want to point out the positive through our hobby that is just more than just sitting at a table and getting together with friends. Because some people are really taking it to a whole nother level. People are using it to help with folks, kids, adults with autism. Maybe it's education through that method, and maybe it's, inclusivity, right? Some people may not know about the RPG hobby, and that's what we want to do. So hopefully you enjoyed the first one. Again, I want to thank James Wallace for partaking. Thanks, James. So you can check out the links that he mentioned are going to be in the show notes. So if you didn't grab those, and if I didn't mention it, it should go without saying. We'll have link to their Facebook and Twitter account as well as James's. So yeah, that's it.
Very cool, man. Thank you. No, seriously, thank you for doing that. We talked about doing it. I knew it was a project you wanted to do, so I think this is really cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's get into Random Encounter.
Let's do that.
All right, Random Encounter.
So the first one we have is that the 80s just called, and they want Sean's bifocals back.
I got new glasses.
I'm looking at them right now, and I don't know if those are like meat saucers or if those are glasses.
Yeah,
I think they're
baby.
glasses.
I told my wife, Now, if you don't know, I will post the picture on Twitter. I think I have it on my Facebook page. I don't know if it's on Google Plus, but I told my wife I want to get new glasses. I'm going 80s style. She was she's like, oh my God. And then I got them and I put them on. She's like, they actually look really good on you.
Sean's wife is legally blind.
And my wife,
she's like, no, she's not. No, she's not.
She owns about 30 pairs of glasses, and she's worked in as a optician, not an optician. Yeah, optician.
Anyway,
person does the screening, not the optometrist.
Not the actual doctor.
That's right. And but anyways, yes, I needed freaking bifocals. It was kind of a pain in the ass to start reading shit. I'm at that age, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, okay. And I got cool glasses that make me look even more hip.
I've got reading glasses, dude. It's not that bad. Last year, Gary kind of was sitting there. I couldn't read something. Beatty leads over me, and Dave's like, "Here, try these, old man." I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah,
like,
Beatty wears reading glasses.
I'm like, oh shit, these are helpful. Thank you. So we're swapping readers like a pair of old grandpas at a gaming retirement home. Anyway, feedback from Mooks and Minions on episode 173. Jared Rasher, dude, again comes in strong. He says, in no particular order. Point 1, there is a kind of a minion rule in the 5th edition DMG, where it mentions as optional rules for grouping all the creatures with single stats together in one massive hit points and subtracting from the whole when one of them gets attacks to make them easier to track. Excuse me, that's a very good point. I like that idea. There is also another optional rule where it says how many you need to assign to attack a given target to hit various armor classes. So instead of rolling to hit, if, say, 8 goblins can engage someone, they deal damage from one of them. Interesting. Another thing about minions in Genesis system, is that if you trigger a crit, you take one of them out of a group of them, so you do enough damage to take one out, then trigger a crit. You have reduced the number of minions by 2 instead. Oh, cool. That's kind of like instead of going through the full-on crit, blah, 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 just bam, bam. It's insta-kill for 2. I like that. Edge of the Empire has one roll resolution mechanics for fights as well. As an optional rule, if the PCs get into some kind of altercation that isn't a major fight, you can assign difficulty and decide what winning and losing means, and then do something like assigning a strain for each threat, wounds for each failure, and crits for despairs rolled. This is good for Cantina brawls so that they might walk out dinged up, but not a plot-critical scene that requires fully statted-out opponents. The Fate Adversary Toolkit provides some guidelines for different tiers of opponents as well. Excuse me. Damn this thing. Cough, that is. He goes on with, threats don't do much damage but can soak up a lot and exist to be speed bumps on the way to more important things in the scene. Hitters go down easy, but they do a lot of damage, so they can't be ignored. But they don't take much to deal with. Fillers are just quote unquote there. They do minimal damage and they go down easy. They're usually used to show how many opponents the bad guys can field rather than doing anything else meaningful. Bosses are characters that are at least as competent and able to do things and absorb damage as PCs, if not more so. As far as homebrewing something that feels right for a game system, in my 5th edition D&D game, I did this for a mob of gargoyles. They had 1 hit point total. Everyone adjacent to the mob could get the full range of attacks from a gargoyle. All the gargoyles got advantage on their attacks because they're sheer numbers. I keep with 5th edition rules that allow an adjacent character to spend an action to aid another to grant them advantage in melee combat. When the mob was at 50% of the hit points, they could no longer attack with advantage, but could still make a full multi-attack on anyone adjacent to the mob until the rest of the mob was taken out. Anything that would have killed a gargoyle outright instead removed a full gargoyle's worth of hit points. The mob was vulnerable to area attacks. That seemed to work fairly well, and if we get back and running D&D again anytime soon, I would like to try that with something like hobgoblins that might fight in formation, for example. What do you think of that, man?
Jared, he's crazy, man.
He is. I like that. I like that idea though, because like he says, in keeping with the rules of 5e, how that would work. I didn't think about it because I'm not familiar enough with the Edge of the Empire that the funky dice system there. But Sean, that one seems to make sense as well. Kind of that one roll type of thing. Hey, add in some strain or whatever. You've got the ability to just add a few extra dice in to. You're using the core mechanic to solve the problem. So I like that. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Jared. Very good stuff as always.
Yeah, Jared. Thanks for doing all that grunt work for us.
Do your turn.
Yeah. Mirko Froelich. Shadow the Demon Lord also has a simple but effective mob mechanic. Groups of 10 or so creatures can be represented as a single mob, with 4 times the health of an individual creature and taking half damage from attacks that target individuals but double damage from attacks that target an area. When the mob is incapacitated, it breaks up into 1d6 individual creatures. This allows you to start out with a single big mob and not get overwhelmed tracking tons of individual creatures as the party whittles them down, but then zoom in towards the end of the battle.
Nice. You know, I do not have Shadow of the Demon Lord, Sean, but every time someone like Mirko brings it up, or Michael Drescher or somebody, I keep thinking I should grab that, if for no other reason than just to read through it. Might have to get a copy of the PDF.
Dude, man, I'm like, another book I need to freaking put on the goddamn shelf and never play.
Well, that's where I'm getting into PDFs more. I can get it in PDF. I read it on my iPad. I go, oh, that was cool. Neat rule. I'll use that. Or, hey, I like this idea.
Yeah. I suppose I should have a rule that says if you don't plan on playing it right away, it's PDF. And then if it's like something you're definitely going to run, then I pick it up and print. I don't know. Maybe I just got to go to PDF altogether and get rid of dead trees.
Yeah, I can't do that. But the first idea you had is solid. That's kind of where I'm heading.
Fair enough. Mirko, thank you so much, buddy.
Absolutely, man. And Chris Shore, Dungeon World does a mob mechanic. If your character is getting attacked by 4 goblins, if the player fails the hack and slash move and the GM ends up doing damage, then the character would take the normal damage from 1 goblin and add +1 to the damage for every additional goblin. So in this example, +3.
See?
Ooh, handy.
Yeah, Dungeon World does have mob rules. Who would have known? Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it?
Well, not me. I haven't played it. I haven't played it but once, and I barely remember the rules. But
it's been a long time since this guy has. So thank you so much, Chris Shorb. Rich Fraser comments on, you meet in a tavern. What's my motivation? I might slap the player for asking that. Who made your character? You supply the motivation, and I supply the adventure. I play plenty of shitty stand-in-the-back and bitch characters. But I always take the adventure.
Come on, you got to tell me. You can't tell me you don't like Rich's answer there. When he leads off with, I might slap the player for asking that. You know, he's in my wheelhouse. I like that.
Rich, you're good people, buddy.
I'll tell you what, though, Rich does have, who made your character? You supply the motivation. I mean, the question, who made your character? Well, I did. Duh! If you made a character that doesn't want to do anything and doesn't, I mean, that's your fault. The game master is doing everything he or she can to throw hooks and plot ideas and all this stuff at you. And if you're like, well, that one just doesn't blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, there's always so many different invitations to the dance you can get, and then at some point you gotta fucking show up and boogie, man. That's just how it goes.
Show up and boogie!
It's not even a song, is it? Please, God, tell me it's not really a song.
Boogie?
No,
yeah.
Boogie probably is, but it's not a lyric, is it?
It's Get Up and Boogie.
Okay.
Get up and boogie!
Well, I did learn from the Parliament Funkadelic, sometimes you got to get up to get down, so that happens.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
George.
All right, that's enough of that.
Let's get into the main topic. All right, Brettster.
All right, man. So, what I want to talk about here is Sean and I have talked about, the Session Zero thing, and we've hammered this before. Players, make sure you're talking. GMs, make sure you're talking. And I thought, kind of instead of trying to talk about a specific game or concept, because sometimes I think, we all pull a Sean. We go, well, it depends. Oh, it depends if it's a spy game. Is it this game? Is it that game? But I honestly think that, at least I, for one, I'm pretty sure I have some core things that I really want, that basically my requirements for a good game. If I'm going to sit down and game with Sean, regardless of the system, regardless of the setting, regardless of genre, story type, whatever, there are certain things that I think I need to have. And maybe system is one of those things, but there's certain pieces that I think gamers, especially once you've been doing it for a while, we have some core requirements that we've got for what makes a good game for us. So, Sean and I have been talking about one of the things we want to do in this new year is I want to run. Sean and I need to game more together. So hopefully we'll get a game of Cold Shadows going, and maybe drag Kevin in there and get some other cool people involved. But I think looking at that and talking about the whole we meet in a tavern perspective and so on, I thought, hey, let's talk about what do we require? What do, as players, even if it's just Brett and Sean, as it tends to be on the show, we'll just talk about what it is that we need, what we require. Does that make sense, Sean? You tracking?
Yes. It does make sense.
All right, man. So when it comes down to it says, hey, I'm going to play X game, are there any systems that you immediately just flat won't play? There are certain systems that you just don't have fun with? That if someone said, hey, I'm going to run this and I'm going to use Cypher, like, no.
Ooh. GURPS.
Okay.
I mean, my not wanting to play something specific isn't very hard and fast. Like, I could be convinced to play a game, even if it's GURPS. And I don't hate GURPS. I don't dislike GURPS.
What's the thing that turns you off?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a big fan of Uncle Steve.
I could see that. After our last interaction, that was not very fun.
Well, no, it's fine. I would say I've played it a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay.
Just doesn't come up very often. It's very generic, which is fine. That's part of the appeal. I get it. But yeah, I don't think I'm not dying to play that game. Champions, dying to play Champions.
Champions, I think I would throw in my, probably not. And I would go so far as to say one of the reasons I don't like Champions, at least the last time I played it, is the incredible intricacy, absolute crazy-ass crunchiness of that game system. To me, my memory of it anyway, it makes, Pathfinder and Rollmaster seem like, a walk in the park. At least Pathfinder anyway. Having each round is 12 segments, and everybody gets to act at different components, and blah, blah, blah. The other one I would say I'm not keen on is Shadowrun in general. The newer version of it that I had a chance to just kind of play one session of felt better. I love the setting, but from a rules perspective, I never want to play first edition Shadowrun ever again.
First edition?
Yeah, even second, first and second. Well, the last two I played like my group wanted to play hardcore, and a salad bowl full of D6s was just too damn much.
I think a lot of people, even in the Shadowrun space, are big fans of third and maybe fourth.
Fair enough, but I think from a system requirements perspective, I would say if someone's like, "Hey, we're going to play a game," I'm like, "Well, what do I really want to look for?" On a system that doesn't take a lot to master, or that I already have mastery of. If someone said, "Hey, you're going to play first ed AD&D or second," I know those games really well. Sure, I could go play that right now. Some other people may be like, "Oh, fuck, I haven't played that in forever. I don't know the system," or whatever. But having something that, if it's new, I can master pretty quick, or if it's incredibly, incredibly crunchy. And a lot of times crunchy and time to mastery are one and the same, but I just do not get into that very much. Is there anything at that level that you just don't like?
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder?
No, that is not a knock on. I'm not knocking on Pathfinder.
We're just talking about We're just talking about preferences. What you like.
I've played enough of it. Is one reason. So it's kind of one of those. I've been there, done that. Somebody may say, "Well, then why AD&D or BX or whatever?" Well, I haven't played that in years, and I probably haven't played BX First Edition, AD&D, some of the older games recently as much as I have Pathfinder maybe even in the last 10 years.
Okay.
So Pathfinder's, it's kind of, I don't know, it's the TV dinner of me growing up. I had enough of them, man. Tired of ripping the tinfoil. Tinfoil, ladies and gentlemen.
I think you used to have, yes.
Tinfoil.
It goes to the 80s readers he's got on.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going back all 80s, man. I'm gonna get my hair. I'm gonna part it down the middle. I'm gonna feather it on the side over the ears,
Jesus Christ.
long in the back. Not a mullet.
I'm glad we don't ride motorcycle anymore because I couldn't go anywhere with you like that. Get your ass kicked. Anyway, the other thing from a system perspective, and maybe this is more of a genre thing than anything else, I am not a big space guy. Sci-fi, it's not a thing where I go, oh, you're going to play a sci-fi game. Oh, I'm in. It's a slower thing for me.
Dude, you're going to have to watch. Oh, my God. And it's just escaped my brain.
What?
What's the damn movie coming out on Netflix?
Bright?
No.
No.
Have you watched Bright?
No, not yet. I haven't had time.
That's a good one.
Supposed to be.
People have said it's really good. I've watched it.
You don't remember.
We'll move on.
Move on.
I'll bring it up in a second.
So anyway, Steve, when I think about, hey, what makes a good game for me is I kind of run through games I like and don't like, and try to noodle through. Okay, what don't I like about this? What's not fun about it? And excuse me. Honestly, a lot of it has to do. Do I already know the system? Okay, then I'm either partway there, yes, or partway there, no. And God, I hate playing that game.
Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon. Oh, I have the book.
Have you read
it? Almost finished it. Yeah, I read like 10 books at a time, so it's one of my.
Coming out on
Netflix,
books. Man.
Yes, I saw that.
That's science fiction.
Yeah, that one could be very interesting. Yeah, that could be fun.
That's like transhumanism a little bit.
Yeah, well, you're sleeving people and everything if it's
right,
like the book. So anyway,
yeah, man.
So like I said, for me, I start with like system needs, requirements. What do I like? What don't I like in that space? Are there anything, Sean, when you're playing it from? Okay, so we get past a system. Hey, we're gonna play a thing we either like or are marginally okay with. Is there anything from a character needs or requirements that you have? And it doesn't even have to be system based. Is there something that, like, look, if I'm going to have a good time playing this game, I want to make sure that I have my character is always connected to everybody, or I can play a loner, or I can do. Is there a certain type of character that you want to make sure that you can play?
I don't know if it's the type of character as much as I need to know from the person running the game, the premise of the game. Like, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's kind of the backdrop, because I don't want to create a character that just doesn't make sense.
So if I gave you we'll just make something, I'll fit it in. Do the warning bells go off though? That this might not be good. Give me more.
You know how much fighty is versus talkie is it going to be?
Okay, that makes sense.
Because I feel I am very open to playing. I kind of like to experiment, Brett.
Okay, that's good.
Don't tell my wife. It's kind of my secret. I like different games, and I like playing different characters within those games. I am not Jeff. I love you to death, buddy. I've said it on this show before, but I do not want to play the same character, not only in the same game every time, but across different games, the same character.
I have a friend of mine I used to play with, and he was always the anachronistic mage. But goddamn, he loved that character, and he always wanted to play it, which was fine. We all kind of got over it. But that was the person in the group that when you set up a new world or game, or hey, we're going to play this, you go, well, he's going for that. And like, I wonder if John's going in there. Oh, there he is. Okay, there it is.
The slot's always taken.
Yeah, and he's really good at it. So I guess the other component for you may be that, excuse me, if it's not super cut dried, like, hey, we'll have one decker, one rigger, one, street samurai, using Shadowrun parlance here. But if you don't break it down like that, knowing that you would be free to make something kind of cool, but it would, again, help if you know the premise and whatnot. For me, from a character needs requirements, I need to know that, I guess I'm kind of in your camp, is like, is this a dungeon crawl, if we're playing fantasy? Am I going to go old school, like hacking through Borrow Maze or going into Undermountain or Castle Greyhawk or somewhere? I'm just going to be wailing the shit out of stuff. I tend to build a character towards that. Excuse me. Damn it. I think the other piece for me is I want to make I do not have the need to be connected to everybody, but I want to have the opportunity. What makes a good game for Brett is that I have the opportunity to pull out some emergent stuff during gameplay. Or if I'm playing, a spy game with you, Sean, and then you mention something like, hey, there's a, enemy agent or a counterintelligence or a mole, and I say, is that Yosef, the guy I knew from back in 73? I just make that up on the spot, but I think it'd be fun to throw that out there. And I like to know that you as a game master would be like, oh, yes, or no, it's not Yosef, but it may have been someone Yosef worked with. He alluded to the Black Raven, and that's why. Oh, okay, cool. Maybe it's something. And then I'll log that away like, hey, I know an NPC named Yosef, and I knew him back in 73 or something like that. That level of agency for me is important for me to have fun because I like doing that stuff. Because if I don't have that, I can get really freaking bored as a player.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So the other piece, what I was thinking of is Kevin and I have talked about this, and one of the reasons he's really grooving on Monster Hearts, and one of the reasons he and I have had really good experiences gaming together is he really grooves on emotional bleed. He likes that feeling, that emotion, right? When you hold a gun to someone's character. If you listen to the Streets of Avalon actual play, and a certain lady gets shot in the head, and then there's this kind of a heartbreaking scene later when he's dealing with family and stuff. He loves that stuff. He likes that, that heartache, that pain, that emotional component of it. I don't, as a player, as a game master, I love helping provide that, but as a player, it's not really a requirement for me. Is there anything, Sean, that you would be like, hey, I got to have that? That really makes a good game for me?
You're just too tough, Brett.
I'm just too hard. It's tough.
You're just got that exterior. That's just it's freaking plate mail over there, man. Yeah, I know you got little ones, so I know there's a big heart underneath that.
Oh yeah, my new team. We went through a new leader assimilation thing at work, and at the end of it, it said, "We're not afraid of the beard and tattoos. We know you're a big teddy bear." That's what the group got me. I'm like, really, guys? Thanks, guys.
They haven't even seen the tattoos, have they?
Well, just the ones on my arms that they could see through short sleeve shirts.
I see. Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
Are there any?
My goal is to run a game.
Yeah.
And make Brett cry.
Good luck.
I know. That's a freaking effort, man.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, is there anything on a personal level, like Sean, when Sean comes to the table, I don't want to deal with X, or I want to deal with Y? Is there anything like that you... Like, I know you hate the metagaming thing. If someone's like, oh, that's a goblin, and goblins have 1 to 4 hit points.
I've calmed down a little bit on the metagaming thing because I think there's a time and a place. I just don't want it to be all the time. I don't want it to be kind of the way I game and we game. I think it's just kind of, frankly, I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do in a game without metagaming. Like if you say, hey, Sean, you should create this or you should do this, I think in a character you should just say it in character somehow where it makes sense, where it's not breaking the immersion of the game.
So that's a personal requirement. If you could make people play that way, you would.
Yes, that would be my preference, but it's not hard and fast. Again, it's not like, I mean, if it's like a big dialogue and it's, okay, it's your attack and 5 people are around talking to each other on what that person should do for 5 minutes, that is not the game. That's too much. God damn it.
I did
too
that
much.
Ages back running Vampire. I had a couple people who were really good role players. The problem is that once given the spotlight to role play, they had this amazing conversation. They had a couple other people in the group that were not quite as into it. They loved to do it. But after 5 minutes, they would look at me and say, Brett, can she just give me the information, or can he just give me this so we can move past it? And the other person would get irate that they want to have a literal 15-minute car ride where they sit in a separate room and talk to each other like they're riding in a car.
Okay.
When you've got 13 to 15 people at a gaming table, you're going to have these type of groups, right? And some people were really grooved on it, and they would literally go off in a different room. The people who liked that stuff would game like that way. And the other people who didn't like it, it kind of worked sometimes and kind of didn't others. But those role-playing opportunities, for me personally, I want to have them there. But I want to make sure that they they end, I guess, at some point. They're fun to do, but the way I game master is I'm like, okay, we've hit terminal repeat, or we've hit, ooh, this is great wine, one too many times. Could we please move the fucking scene along? I like the story to move. So those role-playing opportunities, if they're not, they can advance the plot in multiple different ways. Even if it's you come to go, wow, that was a red herring. Shit, Lady Mary Beth has no data for us. Fuck, our character spent an hour in game, and we learned nothing. That sucks. But other times, I want to make sure that the role-playing opportunities are not just for your stage actor types who really just want to go. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure everything's kind of moving the plot along, is where I'm at. I hate being bored, and if I'm sitting there, and combat at least is normally not boring, but if all of the role-playing opportunities are filler, I think we've all gamed in those type of things where, oh, there's a good chance for you to talk to the city guard. For what purpose? We're here to go to talk to the blacksmith. Why would I do what? So anyway, I think the scenes, the role-playing opportunities, for me on a personal level, they need to help advance the plot. Otherwise, if I'm bored, then I start doing destructive things. I know I've seen me do it.
And knowing is just half the battle.
Yep. That's what we learned from G.I. Joe.
That's right.
In the 80s.
That's right. Bring on the 80s.
So Sean, one of the things I wanted to bring out was the X card thing. Now, my group and I have been gaming together for a very long time, and normally what happens in my group is somebody will say, I'm not cool with that, or no, or I know the crew very well, and it's one of those pieces where, like, oh, so-and-so's upset, and we're done. Let's step outside for a second. I think I'm getting to a point with newer groups, it's a, if not a requirement, it's a really good idea to say, hey, even if I don't bring up the X card term itself, just to say, hey, if I do something that makes someone at this table uncomfortable, how am I going to know? And then to at least have the group say, well, we'll just tell you. Well, yeah, sure. Should we do something? Hey, there's this X card theory if nobody's heard of it. And I wonder, how do I say this? I don't know if it's really something that I want to force on a table type of thing, but I'm starting to feel where it can be advantageous in a lot of places. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have guys that I would game with. I would intentionally push their buttons because I know them. And that's the kind of guy I am.
No, Sean, really? That's odd. That's not you.
I know. It comes as a surprise after listening to a few episodes of this podcast. But those guys I know.
Yeah.
Like I know them. I know their history. Like I know them pretty deeply. Like I just grew up with them. Like they're my brother.
Yep.
But anybody else, if there was a stranger at the table, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know them as well. So yes, I think that might be. I haven't thrown the X card down as a part of a game.
I have done it a couple times. One time we were 2 game holes ago. Victor Wyatt was at my table. It said, "Hey Brett, should we have an X card?" And my immediate reaction was, "I don't think we need it." And I thought, my player just asked me if I could put down a safety tool. I'm gonna fucking do it. That's just stupid. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure, Victor.
Victor's gaming with you.
Yeah.
He already knew. Like he didn't. Nothing. Nothing prompted him to touch it. But he knows it's got to be there.
That's a good idea. Somebody could cry here. But no, that was kind of cool. I think what this is leading me to is, so we talk about, like, what do I want, right? So as a player, it sounds like, hey, Sean and Brett are essentially pretty open. Brett doesn't want to be bored. He wants to have plenty to do. Want to make sure our characters are built right. Okay, kind of fundamental. But the one piece that we talked about, I mean, I don't like it when I got showboating and that type of thing, and we hinted at, like, with the metagaming. But from, like, a personal perspective or even from a character perspective, is there something that, to make a good gaming setting, a good game for you, good gaming event, is there something that you need the game master to do, right? Is there a level of preparedness that you expect? Do you expect that...
Oh, God. Yeah, there is.
All right, so lay it on me, brother.
I think when a game master is... How do you define a good one? And I think sometimes you know when it's a bad one.
Kind of like pornography, you know when you see it. That type of thing. I know a bad one.
Yes.
So
And then it would be one of those that would show up and be like, okay, we're going to game. All right. So, yeah, you could just tell, like, it's just not gelling.
I hear you.
Like, I don't know what it is. I can.
No,
it'll take me a second to come up with an example of like.
So
I've
got one for you. My buddies are playing in a Pendragon game at Gamehole a couple cons ago. I think maybe 2 or 3 ago.
Oh boy!
And Alpha comes over and his eyes are glazed over. I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "This is the worst game master ever." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "I said you can walk away." He goes, "No, it's become a thing now. I must survive this game." He kind of makes his way back. It was like
it's a train wreck.
Yeah, it was like a trial of adulthood. To after this, I'll have earned my true gamer name. They said what the game master would do is he had the screen, so he'd pop his head up over the screen and he would say, "Okay," he'd look everyone in the eye. "Now, look everyone in the eye. You guys are all together. Look everyone in the eye. You're on the road. Look everyone in the eye." They'd shrink behind the screen. He'd start talking like this. "Okay, now, head down. What is it everybody's doing?" And it was like, what? You couldn't hear him. It's loud at the con. But his Alpha described it to me as he's like this bizarrely misplaced dramatic pauses. But it was very clear this is how this dude runs. This is his jam, man. This is his thing. Alpha said he was well prepared. He knew what to do. He knew when things were and whatever. He said he was just so slow. There's a pacing thing. And for me, pacing is a big thing. If I'm sitting at the table and like I said, boredom, not only just from, my other players sometimes driving me nuts or wanting to argue about who gets, whatever, who gets the final kill on the Goblin King or whatever the fuck they want to argue about. But the game master not helping to push the plot along is my bigger component. And there's a level of preparedness, I'm sure, that comes in there, whether you're really good at improvising, excuse me, or you are a more note guy, or even if I'm on the train, as long as the scenery's good, I'm happy. But at some point, fucking move shit along. That's the one thing that just drives me bananas from a game master perspective.
Yeah.
So are there other... So I guess from the other piece, so if... I think generically speaking, it's kind of like I want to find players that share at least half of my views because we're going to have a much better time, right? If I say, hey, I really can't stand GURPS, if that's what let's say we took a hard stand. I hate GURPS. I don't ever want to play it. We sit down with a brand new gaming group, like, hey, we play GURPS exclusively. This is probably not going to be a good fit. That was pretty obvious. But I think... So I guess, Sean, the reason I brought this up was I think at some point it became very apparent to me. I started game mastering because I wanted to do it. I thought it would be really cool to run the game itself. And the more I got into it, the more I realized game masters, guys that were running games for me, weren't doing it the way I would do it. So they would do something like, oh, that's not what I would have done. I would have done something different. And I realized the only way that I'm going to ever run a game exactly the way I want it run is if I do it. So I'm going to go do that.
Here.
Just give me that screen.
Just give me that damn thing.
Give me the game. God damn
here,
it.
just sit over there.
Just sit down.
Let me grab those dice.
It's like I got a little bit of my dad in me. No, just give me the wrench. Just sit down. Here, hold this. I'll do that. Yeah, a little bit of my old man in me. Anyway, I think, but taking time to think about this stuff, and I know I hope this wasn't horribly boring for listeners, but I think the idea here is it is worth it, in my opinion, to take the time and think about the core things that you really need to have a fun game. I honestly think Sean and I are fairly easygoing. I'll sit down and go, I'll try almost any game once, go, oh boy, that blew, I didn't like that one at all, or oh, that was no fun, or whatever. I'll try it. I'll try to jump in with both feet and go, especially at a con. But at the end of the day, I think doing that, the things you need are, some people may have a hard requirement. Some people may be like, look, I will not play at a table with this type of person, right? Some people may say, I will not handle rules lawyers. I will not handle people who are rude. I will not handle vulgarity at my table. If they don't like that stuff, one, they shouldn't be listening to me if they don't like vulgarity.
True.
As I'll fuck that up in a minute. But anyway, if there's certain core pieces that you as a player have to have or have to not have, I think it's important that you You don't necessarily have to write that shit down, but at least think about it and be very, very open with it as politely as you can to a new group or whatever it is you're coming into. It's kind of the whole expectations, right? I hope this adventure is really good, and I really want to make sure that my ranger has plenty to do. Even if sometimes I think if we take it away from, because it's still, gaming is a very personal thing too, and I think if we take it away from just the character piece and put a very personal, real live person persona behind this and say, look, Sean doesn't like X, and so Sean better tell Brett that, look, I don't like playing with this type of thing. We've talked about it with the X card, alluded to it there with the, I don't like it. I don't like hurting children. I don't like violence against women. I don't like violence against anybody. I don't like this or whatever. And if you're running a game, I can't remember. There's a book on Drive-Thru RPG. Someone reminded me of. It's 1,000 Dead Babies. It's the Drive-Thru RPG book.
I saw that.
I think Bruce Cunningham reminded me of it. If that is the thing that you're like, hey, you're running a game called 1,000 Dead Babies as the next campaign, Brett, I have to bow out. I don't like that. Oh, shit, Sean, I didn't know you didn't like that. I'm sorry, I'll change. Or we can do something else. Excuse me, damn it, this cough is getting murder. But I think doing those things, calling it out is important because it's kind of like, if I get mad at the game master or the other players for allowing a behavior or whatever, if you really need an X card at the table because that is what helps you feel that you're able to game safely or feel that you have an out, and you have a group that will not let you have it, my advice is don't play with them flat. If they won't listen or capitulate in some way to help you, meet that type of need, especially a safety need, then you shouldn't be gaming with them because that's just not emotionally safe for you. But if you're playing with a group that never lets role-playing opportunities, all they want to do is kill, literally murder a hobo, kill the monsters and take all their shit. If you hate that, but that's all the group wants to do, you either suck it up or leave. But I think it behooves you and to tell the group what you need, right? And sometimes it's not going to be like, look, I can't handle violence against children. You do not have to explain yourself. That's not there. No one's asking you to dig into the pain or the personal whatever. Like, look, I do not want to have parent-child issues. Okay, that's legit. You don't have to explain that. Or, hey, I don't like emotional bleed in my games. I do not want to cry here tonight. Okay, that's fine. But I think by making sure that you voice those things in some way so that you're very, very clear on what your requirements are to have a good game, to have a good time while playing, if you don't voice it, then it's like a super dynamic character background that you never share with anybody. It kind of doesn't matter in a way because I don't know. It's the truth has to get on the table, and you got to lay it out there at some point. So, anyway, Sean, that was my thought here. Is it's as even as easygoing as you are for gaming, it's still worthy of me knowing you after these conversations that we've had over the years. Is like, hey, if you metagame all the time at the table, Sean, at some point we'll go, God damn it, knock it off. It will frustrate you, and by having you bring those things up, I think it's important because then if I'm running the game, and even if I'm a player, I can then help to head that stuff off. Because I go, hey, that's a thing my fellow players don't like. If I help make sure you're taken care of, hopefully everyone will help make sure I'm taken care of. And I think we talk a lot of times about just raw system things and whatever, or what the character wants to do. But I think what it comes down to is there's some hard needs or requirements that players have, and game masters have too. But just from a player's perspective, what do you need to make sure you have? If you don't feel you can trust the game master because they lie to you, they're sneaky, not even like emotional or personally damaging and outside in real life, not, doing X card worthy stuff, but they're illogical, their rules don't make sense or whatever it is. Or like, look, if we house rule, I need it written down so we can do the same fucking house rule every time. If that's a requirement you have, I think it's worth calling that out. Does that make sense?
It does.
Kind of went on a little tirade there, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And it's Bruce Cunnington.
What's that?
Was it Bruce Cunnington?
Yeah, it was Bruce Cunnington. Okay. Yeah, he did the 1,000 Dead Babies.
You said Cunningham.
Did I say Cunningham? Ah, damn it.
That's Richie Cunningham.
No, yeah, I'm sorry, Cunnington. God damn it. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, Bruce.
That's all right. But yes, that's okay. And it's a good tangent.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. You got to have kind of some baselines, right? But sometimes I think you don't know those baselines until you see those and experience them. Like, holy shit, this person does not know what the hell they're doing. it is time for me to go.
Yeah. I think what and the cool thing is once you've identified that. So Sean and I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing it since third grade. Sean, pretty much nonstop. Sean's been doing it for years and years and years, decades as well. At a certain point, we're like, oh, I see that. I don't like that. I'm leaving. And a new person would be like, what? What? If they're new to gaming, they haven't figured some of that stuff out yet.
No.
And I have seen new players, my kids included, at EverCon saying, how was that game? It was fun. I had a lot of fun. Then I talked to Alana about it afterwards. Well, I did try to do something, and the game master said I wasn't allowed to do that because it wasn't specifically in the rules, and I like it the way you do it better. Oh, okay, that's good to know. Dad rocks. But then when they're playing, they got the chance to play with Alex Camera, and my buddy Lenny ran a game for me at EverCon. They had so much fun because, what was fun? I asked those questions of them. Oh, we got to play different things with super high level. We got to a lot of powerful things, a lot of tricks and traps and puzzles to figure out. Oh, this was fun. And Lenny put a timer on the table so we had 15 minutes to figure out how to stop the dragon from being summoned. That's cool. Then by help, they're only like 11 and 9. But by asking them those questions, what I'm trying to do is the same thing I try to do with adults is really that game was fun. What was cool about it? I'm asking that for a couple reasons. One, Gamer War stories are fun to hear sometimes if they're really cool. And two, I want to, even if it doesn't help the other person, honestly, I want to hear what they did, and then I judge myself and go, that sounds terrible. I had people say, oh, we had this conceit in the game. Oh, this was this really cool one-off thing. I'm like, that sounds like a fucking nightmare, really? I'm not going to say that to them, but I'm like, okay, that goes in the vault of shit Brett probably does not think would be fun. And sometimes I've had players say, yeah, that was terrible. Really, what sucked about it? And they'll tell me something in the back of my head. I'm thinking, shit, I run a game just like that. Oh, my God, that's how I run a game. This person hates it. Don't ask this guy to play with me. And it's that concept of looking at yourself for a minute, right? Take the time, identify the core things that you know, and as you learn them, log them away somehow, however it is that you remember this stuff. If you gamed and you found the X card is incredibly helpful, then make sure that's a thing you bring up. If you're like, hey, I need systems that allow me to game in a certain way because I like the way these types of mechanics work, that's worthy of note because that's a good way for you to make sure that when you are gaming, you're having the most fun possible when you finally sit down at the table. But I guess that's where I'm going. We good?
I think so, man.
Let's move on. I think I've blathered enough. So, as always, just to wrap it up, if anybody else out there has thoughts, questions, or whatever about this, or even their own input, that would be great. I mean, Sean and I have talked, this is one of the topics we'll have off the mics, boy, I hate it when X happens. Oh, boy, if only this would happen, or whatever, and it bleeds into all the different things we've talked about, and I think he and I know each other well enough now, if I sit down to run a game for Sean, I've got a pretty good idea about the shit he doesn't like, right? And I think he's got a good idea of the shit that Brett doesn't like. But I think it's worth thinking about. So anyway, if you've got some ideas or thoughts, hit us up with it.
Yeah, let us know about the shit you don't like.
It could be Brett and Sean. Who knows?
All right, let's get it to die roll. Die roll. 2 to 4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery. I have a few. Let's see. First one for me, Dyson Logos map pack. So if you're not following Dyson Logos on Facebook and Twitter and Patreon, does a lot of map work. That's all Dyson does.
Amazing map work.
Yeah, good map work. So I think he did like a map pack with 170 maps that you can just pick up. He consolidated them all, and now you can pick it up all as in one bundle.
Yeah, 170 maps available under a free commercial license.
Yep.
Damn, $20 on RPG Now.
Yeah, so check that out. Dan Meth is, I don't know Dan Meth. It's his website, but I saw it on Twitter and tracked it back to his website. His pop culture charts. And I thought the one that was kind of cool for some of my fellow nerdums out there specifically would be the futuristic movie timeline. So I think Dan just kind of gets stuff together and consolidates it, and like the pop culture charts are pretty interesting. Check those out. But the futuristic movie timelines, like an info info chart, whatever.
It was like, Clockwork Orange.
Yeah,
where it goes to Escape from New York, where that flies. Where's 2001? Free Jack, Postman, Children of Men, 12 Monkeys, Demolition Man, Forbidden Planet, Planet of the Apes, Dune.
Yeah.
Where's Logan Run fit in there?
Put it all on a timeline.
Neat.
Last one, John Carter of Mars's RPG Kickstarter went 300% in first hours of that Kickstarter. When you're listening to this, if you listen to it the day this episode drops, there's 24 days to go as of this recording. So if it's after that, if you're listening to this in February, you may be too late.
Did you ever read Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars? Did you ever read those?
I did not.
Neither did I. This is one of those. I'm going to have to grab these because there's a weird zeitgeisty thing periodically that'll happen. I'm like, hey, everybody's talking about Dying Earth. I should go buy those. So that's on my to-read stack. Jack Vance's stuff. And then next thing I know, everyone, quote-unquote, within Brett's little Twitter sphere, somebody will bring up the John Carter thing, and somebody else mentions something, and somebody else does, fuck it, I gotta go find some goddamn Edgar Rice Burroughs John Carter books. Gotta figure out what's going on.
So Modifius is making that game, so it's probably going to be a 2D20 based game, I'm guessing. They are publishers of games like Conan the RPG, Star Trek Adventures, Mutant Year 1 is one. So
Year 0 or is it Year 1?
Year 0. Year 0. You're right. Anyways, check those out.
Very cool.
Got
a couple from listeners here. Goblin's Henchman point us to a Goblin Mine dungeon zone. It's a free zine. So link in the show notes to that. That looked pretty cool. Thank you, Mr. Henchman, sir. And Brian Kreutzinger warns us.
Kreutzinger.
Thank you. Good God, I always screw that one up. Brian Kreutzinger.
Yeah, you know that German man.
I know. He warned us about
Brian Kreutzinger!
I see nothing. He told us about the homemade drones that apparently bombed a Russian airbase. So, yeah, that's happening. That's shit that happens. This is one of those things where you read it and you're like, okay, that's just kind of stupid or creepy or what idiot did that. But, again, I think about the gaming possibility of that. Drones, people doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, Rigger Man.
Yeah. It just...
Real life Rigger.
Real life.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, Brett. What are we talking about next week?
Next week, I want to talk about hidden hit points. Hidden hit points.
Hidden hit points.
Yeah.
Hidden.
I'm dredging up
hit
an old
points.
thing that, speaking of bizarre zeitgeist, something came to me about an old article I read back on Pyramid Magazine, which was online by Steve Jackson Games, an old article I read.
Uncle Steve. Uncle Steve.
Yeah, exactly. Uncle Steve had this one out there. He didn't write it, the John Wick thing. But I'm going to talk about it next week, and we'll see where we go with it.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good gaming all.
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.